I'm Sherilyn Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 226 of the Brilliant Balance podcast, How to Max Out Your Income Potential. Well, who doesn't want to talk about this, right? This is part 3 in our 4-part finance series. So we're kind of just crossing over the halfway point here. And I love the way that I'm getting comments and Instagram posts and DMs about these episodes. It is clearly striking a chord with a number of you, and that always makes me so happy to know that the content is of service. We think a lot, I think a lot, and my team supports me a lot in thinking about what really are the topics that are going to be the most relevant for you. What are the things that we think are really going to help you get to the next level? And this topic, this series that we're in, really is one of the things that we know can hold women back. Our relationship with money, when it is fear-based or immature, or if we're kind of back on our heels, it can be really challenging and can cause a ripple effect in our lives. So I'm going to get into the original broadcast of part 3 of this series. Again, we're talking about yet another angle on finances this time, which is how to really max out your income potential. Here we go. And today we are talking about all things related to your income. So if you have ever asked yourself, have I maxed out my income potential yet? Do I have upside? Then this episode is definitely for you. I am really pretty excited about this topic. I wasn't always. I think that talking about money, talking about income is something that used to cause me a lot of anxiety. But now I've really seen firsthand the freedom that it can create in your life when you believe that you have a level of control over your financial livelihood, over your income. And I see it all the time in the Breakthrough program that we run within Brilliant Balance. The women who come into Breakthrough often have some sort of limiting belief around what's possible for them in terms of their income. And when we watch women step through these thresholds of, creatively pursuing opportunities in their lives that allow them to increase their income, it's not the only thing that we do in Breakthrough, but it's really one of a very empowering and exciting transformation to watch people go through. The up-leveling, the carryover effect of that up-leveling is substantial into other areas of their lives. There's really an extraordinary level of freedom that comes with a belief that you are in control, that you have a level of power over the income that you are able to bring into your household. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about it because I think a lot of people who don't feel financial freedom, right? They feel like I don't have enough money to do the things I want to do. They start thinking about reducing their expenses. And it's paradoxical, right? Because I don't have enough money. So what I'm going to do is reduce my expenses. I'm going to make my life smaller to fit into the income level I have. That's not actually doing anything to bring in more money, right? It's constricting and reducing and making life smaller and smaller to try to stick within what is perceived as a fixed limit on income. So you'll see behaviors like buying things on sale, aggressively using coupons, really going into extended negotiations when making purchases, doing a ton of comparison shopping, saying no to a lot of things that are viewed as luxuries. Like, the classics are the drinks from Starbucks, right? Or dinners out, like vacations, not having those things so that we can keep our lives smaller and smaller to fit into this predefined income. And all of that creates a level of constrictive energy. It's very tightening, right? There's this sense of being limited, of being put into a smaller container to try to make it fit. I am just far more excited about helping you find ways to grow your income rather than mercilessly reducing your expenses. Because when we think about growing your income, it taps into an expansive energy, right? A powerful energy, a growth-oriented energy, not a constricting, limiting energy. And let me be clear, there is a place for both, right? If you want to have a healthy financial picture, you need to do some of each. We regularly examine the expenses in our household and in my business to see if there are places where we've sort of forgotten about an expense that we're making, or, we're really not getting a lot out of this anymore. And so let's turn it off, or let's stop that subscription, or let's see if we can negotiate a different arrangement with this particular purveyor or supplier. All of those things are good, healthy practices to be in, and you should do them regularly. But today, what I want to focus on is the other side of the equation. I want to focus on the top line, the money you're bringing in, instead of trying to control the money that's going out. And I think it's important as we get into this discussion that you ground yourself in why that might matter to you. What would be possible for you if your income level was higher than it is today? If you had extra money available to you to allocate as you choose, does that represent a higher level of security for you? Does it potentially give you an opportunity to give more philanthropically? Does it give you a level of freedom with your time and where your time goes that you might not have today? Does it give you peace of mind and allow you to sleep better at night? What would it mean if you were able to have a higher level of income? Because what we want to do today is we want to take the limits off of your perception of the income that you can earn. You very likely have upside to your current level of income, and it's more than you probably think. And so what I want to do today is I want to get into 3 ways that you can get it, 3 ways you can go after it. Okay. 3 strategies that you can use to grow your income. And I want you to think about which one of those or which ones of those might make the most sense for you. So the first one is negotiate your compensation. Women, I will just tell you, are far less likely to do this than men. And it really can make like a capital BIG difference over time. And when I think back on my own career, both in a couple of different corporate jobs and also as an entrepreneur, I can think back to at least one instance in which I did this well, and it made a big difference. It was uncomfortable in the short term to negotiate my compensation, but it had a long-term net benefit to me for having dealt with that discomfort. There was a big payout to having been willing to tolerate that level of discomfort. And I can think back to at least one instance in which I did not do it well. And it really had a long-term negative effect on my income. So it's important that you understand, do you have a level of resistance to negotiating your compensation? And where does that come from? Because it can be intimidating. It can cause anxiety. And importantly, you might not get the yes. But if you don't ask, your odds are even lower. So I think as a point of comparison, men initiate salary conversations 4 times as often as women. And when they do, they ask for 30% more. So just knowing that, just knowing what the landscape looks like, that there's someone else out there who is 4 times as likely to start that conversation. And when they do, they're going to ask for even more than you do, right? Might give you a little bit of courage to try. It cannot hurt to ask if you do it with grace, right? And you do it with professionalism. So you'll need to be equipped with why you should earn more. And it's really important, I think, you need to be prepared that they may not say yes. Your employer, it might be that they cannot, it might be that they will not meet your request. There are plenty of reasons why what you want is at odds with what your employer can do. But regular healthy discussions about salary are a skill that you can build. And when it falls to your advantage, the dollars add up over time. So one pro tip I'll give you here is when you're in these compensation negotiations, don't just look at salary. Look at the total picture. Look at bonuses, look at benefits, other ways that your total top line can increase, because sometimes those non-salary pieces of compensation are easier for companies to agree to than straight increases to your salary. And this will be different depending on the size of the company you're in, the industry, the norms around compensation. There are some fields where income is pretty well publicized and very much moved in lockstep. And there are other industries where there is a whole lot more fluidity and flexibility, and you have to know the norms inside of yours. Okay, but that's the first sort of obvious opportunity, is to negotiate your compensation in your current role. Do you ever find yourself saying, I just need a minute to breathe? While the whole idea of meditation can sound totally intimidating, I've found that stepping away from the chaos of life, even just for a few minutes, is incredibly restorative. So if you're short on time, but could use a few moments of peace right about now, listen to my 5-minute meditation for working moms. It'll help you clear your head and come back to your day feeling centered and refreshed. Head over to brilliant-balance.com/breathe. Press play and settle in for a few mini moments of peace right now. The second strategy that you can use is to reach for the next level. So I see a lot of women who have just given up on being able to get to the next level. They don't think they have the capability. They don't think they'll be able to manage the complexity. They worry about the demands on their time. They worry about the demands on the expectations that will be placed on them. And so they play small. And what I want to encourage you to do is think about, what would it look like to reach for the next level? Because this is sometimes where, the discontinuous jumps in compensation can happen, where you can really get a bigger incremental gain at one time. So the first way to think about this is within your company. This is sort of applying for the promotion within your current work. So moving to the next level. You're a manager, you want to be a director. You're a director, you want to move to vice president. That's the within your company approach. Sometimes, though, to reach for the next level, you want to cross industries or cross companies to get to that next level. So there could be a log jam ahead of you in your company. And by moving to another company, you can take your skill set and potentially leapfrog to the next level. So this requires courage in a different way, right? There's a kind of famous Hewlett-Packard study that was done, a lot of you have probably seen it, that says if a job is posted, women will not apply for that job unless they have met 100% of the posted criteria. So they list all the qualifications and characteristics. Women are like, if I don't have 100% of those job qualifications, I will not apply. But men will apply with 60%. 60%. So there's this giant gap, right, in their willingness to apply. The posting manager is going in, the person who's hiring for the job, assuming that they'll get maybe 70 to 75% of those qualifications back in a candidate. So here are women taking themselves out of a race that they actually could win before they even start. And men are getting in the game, so guess who's getting those jobs? Right? So what we want to encourage women to do, what I want to encourage you to do, is assess your ability to do the work. Can you do it? Not have you done it? But do you think it's a capability that you could build when you're in a real world learning lab, right? When you're on the job, can you build those skills? And that's your trigger point to apply. Do you have a desire to build those skills? Do you think you have a natural aptitude for those skills? And if you know that you're hypercritical of yourself, get some outside perspective. Get somebody else's point of view on, do you think I would be good at this? Because you will often be more critical of yourself than others are of your work, and that could be holding you back from applying for positions that you may well get. Okay? So when you look to reach for the next level, you can look first within your own company. Are there opportunities to be promoted that might carry higher compensation? Or could you take the same job and go work in a different industry? Sometimes you don't even have to change levels. Sometimes the compensation norms are just different in different industries. So if you are an IT director and you're an IT director at a nonprofit, a local nonprofit, your compensation is not going to be the same as taking the same skills and being an IT director at a high growth startup in Silicon Valley. It just won't be the same. Or working for a really well-established technology company. You might do the exact same kind of work, but the norms around compensation are very different. So you really want to get a good read on what are the industry norms and where might I be able to be to maximize my compensation if that's your goal. Not everyone's goal is to maximize their income, but that's what we're talking about today is when you are saying, I really want to increase my income, these are strategies that you can use to do it. So that's the second one, is reaching for the next level. The third strategy, honestly, the options for this one are pretty much limitless. The third strategy is to add a secondary income. Sometimes we call it a side hustle, right? We are living in a really extraordinary period in history. We're calling this the gig economy because so many people are navigating their professional lives today without a full-time traditional employer at all. So you can make a whole career out of side hustles or gigs, but you also can do one in addition to your primary income source. So what's the cost here? What's the downside? Well, in most cases, it's time. So you do want to be careful that you're not overtaxing an already overtaxed life. Sometimes we say the juice has to be worth the squeeze, but this is a strategy that I personally am seeing a lot of women using very successfully. I think it's a terrific transition plan from full-time work to full-time entrepreneurship to start something on the side, get proof of market, get proof of concept, get it growing. And then when it's at a certain tripwire point, you can then transition into that being your full-time work. We've done that a number of times now with women who've come through breakthrough and they built something on the side to the point where they had the courage to make it their full-time work. Avenues for this could be anything from consulting, doing a consulting project from your area of expertise that you do in the evenings or on the weekends. It could be providing a service to your community, something that you're really good at that people in your community would benefit from. Any kind of service. You know how to sew? People need sewing done. You know how to cook? There are people who don't want to. You know how to garden? There are people who want garden. It does not matter what the service is. I could go on for 6 days about services that people will pay you to provide for them because they don't want to or don't know how to do those things themselves. That is income opportunity. Right? Another massively popular one is direct sales. So there are just millions of women today selling a variety of product lines with, in some cases, substantial financial gain. So this is the cosmetic lines, the beauty care lines, the jewelry lines, the clothing lines that women are selling on a direct basis and using as a secondary income. Another really interesting venue for these side incomes is teaching from your area of expertise. Right? Being an expert in something and then helping other people develop that expertise. That's something that is sort of a twist on the consulting model, is essentially teaching individuals from your area of expertise. And another one that could be considered a side endeavor is investing. You could be a passive investor, a silent investor in a business that could generate an income for you because you have an ownership stake. If you've maxed out your potential salary at your current job, you don't want to reach for the next level, but you still want an income boost, then that may be the time to consider something like this. I want to maybe put some numbers against this to illustrate why it matters. A lot of times when we think about wanting more income, we think about the little luxuries that we can buy. I can travel, I can take this vacation, I can buy that great handbag. There's something that I want for the house. Like that's what we're thinking of when we're thinking about augmenting our income. But But one of the really most powerful things that you can do is think about your long-term savings and investments. So if you look at a side gig that makes just like, say, $500 a month, something that you can generate an extra $500 a month. If you can do that every month consistently, then you can invest in an IRA every single year. So an IRA, right, an individual retirement account, caps out at $5,500 a year. So if you take 11 months of your side hustle and you put $5,500 a year into an IRA, and you do that every year for the next 30 years, you would have accrued, assuming like an average rate of return, 7% or something, you would have $520,000. And that's just from a $500 a month income from a second job. So it doesn't have to be a big, giant thing. It can be just figuring out how to get $500 extra out of your current income, like negotiating your compensation, getting to the next level in a way that gets you $500 more a month in your pocket, or having a side hustle that delivers the same. If you use that to do something like invest in an IRA, and you do that with consistency, it can be a substantial amount of money that's available to you at a time when you're probably going to need it. I'll just go back to side hustles. The thing I love about these is they actually can be so much fun. I mean, if you're looking to do one that's $500 to $1,000 a month, it's kind of like a paid hobby. You're not going to get rich on $500 to $1,000 a month, but you can have a lot of fun earning that, doing something that you truly love. And it's even more exciting when that little glimmer of an idea grows into something that becomes your full-time work. So I want to recap today one more time the 3 strategies we talked about. If you are feeling like your life would improve, you could make a bigger impact in the world by having a higher level of income, there are 3 strategies to look at. Negotiating your compensation is the first one. Reaching for the next level, either inside your current company or by crossing companies. And then adding a side hustle. So pick one for you, or pick more than one, and see what it feels like to be in that expansive energy. See if it feels exciting rather than restrictive or tightening, to start to explore the possibilities that would open up for you. And the next time that we're together, we're going to talk about what to do with that extra income that you're going to figure out how to earn. Right? We're going to talk about where I see some people getting stuck in making good decisions about what to do with the money that they have. So between now and then, please make sure you join me in the Brilliant Balance Facebook group to weigh in on this discussion. There's always good questions posted there. Okay? Until next time, my friends, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.